Hey everyone, this is Tom from MonTac here doing the weekly MonTac Matchup for the 8th of April 2022, and joining me we have the champion, 5-0. Lucky is here today. How are you doing, sir, after your amazing victory in the tournament?
I feel great. I don't really win very much things because I don't really put myself out there, but I feel amazing that I had this opportunity.
Yeah, you did incredibly well, man. I mean, obviously, you know, we do have to bring it up. Last season, out of 6 matches, you were only able to get up 1 win. However, that just got completely flipped. I mean, not only did you go through Charging Badger, which was a massive victory, you then went on to take out Mini Smoke, probably the most decorated OTK artist that we have, followed up by then an Apocalyptic, obviously former champion, and then in the grand final, not only beating Zweistein, but making it incredibly dominant. How do you feel about such a dominant winner of someone like Zweistein? I mean, they were in the GOAT conversation for a while.
So, stepping back a little bit, my actual game plan was to look at my opponent's strategy, figure out what they did the most common about, and then try to figure out how to counter them. I had a fallback deck where if I didn't know how to counter someone, I'd use that deck, but otherwise I'd be adding onto my other decks to try to counter someone. So the win with Charging Badger, I just used my fallback deck. I didn't really know what they'd play. I kind of had an idea, but I thought it'd be fine. With Mini Smoke, I was like, I'm just going to throw in a few more defensive cards because I believe if I set up my deck to be more defensive, I'll be able to go in for an overall OTK. And then I realized I liked those cards in my deck just generally because it gives me a little bit more of a tactical rebound and allows me to set up for future plays. Going against Zwei, I spent like the past week just trying to figure out how much is acceptable for him to gain just in order to kill him before the timer hit. And I came out with an allowance of 11, and because I did the math, all I had to do was counter a few Elizabeths and a few other cards, and then suddenly he didn't have anything, which was my general idea.
Yeah, that's Sinji Null. Yeah, that's Sinji Null and Beowulf as well. Like, there was just any sort of hope that was going to be there, potentially bring you down to where he was health point wise. Just got absolutely snuffed out immediately, which was absolutely crazy to see. What do you think really changed from how you approached matches from last season? Because obviously you just went on an absolute tear. Was there any sort of change of like approaching the match, or was it just kind of the right opponents at the right time?
I think I just became a little bit more overly sensitive to what my opponent's doing, and that allowed me to try to dictate how my deck actually functions. So I think I just allowed myself to just further envelop myself in the deck building aspect of the game, and I think it helped a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, you did absolutely phenomenal, and quite an awesome journey to the top as well. Let's get. Well, we got you here for these match picks, so let's get you right into them. Obviously, first up, we have got a very interesting matchup between Mini Smoke, the aforementioned OTK artist, is taking on DanB, who has fallen a couple ranks, unfortunately. Obviously, Mini Smoke highly likely to use Angels if they're not switching to a set 4 archetype, and DanB, of course, would be expected to use Steel Edge. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I highly doubt DanB is going to do anything but Steel Edge. That is his thing. He's going to stick to it. For the whole Angels thing, even though Blitz isn't really used as a defensive card, I think if DanB uses one of the Blitz cards as like a defensive card, they could easily get above the range of 5,600, which is where the OTK actually starts. So they could actually get a really nice defensive bonus early on.
Sure.
And that would just protect them completely from the OTK.
Yeah, fair
if they attempted to do that.
So are you thinking Daniel for this matchup?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Fair enough. All right.
I just think the deck is strong enough too.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. Well, the next matchup has another Steel Edge player. We've got Not Alt rank 10 taking on Shower Galaxy Wolf. Now, she obviously was inspiration for your grand final deck, and of course, I would expect her to use her Torosian Control, which has been successful against Steel Edge previously.
Torosian is actually the best counter to Steel Edge. Because if you just hit the correct cards, the deck does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you just negate a few cards, then it turns off the deck completely, and you can't really recover from that as a Steel Edge player. At least that's what DanB told me.
Okay, so you're straight up thinking Shower Galaxy Wolf has got this one immediately?
If she plays a tad bit more aggressively, I definitely do.
Alright, interesting. Alright, well let's get onto the main card. We've got Tailsweet versus Doozy. Obviously, Tailsweet's actually predicted to go a little bit of the mutated side since their Apex has just come out, and Doozy, of course, would be expected to use Octai Shuffle Repeat with that Torosian deck they've created. It is going to be a rough one, but it's going to be...
Doozy's a weird one, though. He's just weird. He could do anything, really. He might actually double back into Synergy Impact. He's been talking about it a lot.
Here you go.
Perhaps.
All right. Yeah.
Love you, bye.
Well, what do you... So you think Tailsweet is going to do Mutated? I think Mutated has very interesting synergies, but I'm not entirely sure how competitive they are in the meta currently.
Yeah, it's a completely new test. Mutation Pit is their generic popping, which is probably one of the biggest reasons people are going to check them out. Their Apex is a little bit better. It's got a bit more oppressive, constant lowering of any monster played. But yeah, it's a real rough match. But did you have any thoughts on this one, or is it just more of a remains to be seen?
It remains to be seen.
Fair enough. Alright, we got the next matchup. Now this is a very interesting matchup. We've got Tamoose, rank 5. That means there is no draws, taking on Misfire, 3-time former champion. Obviously, Tamoose is one of the highest potential players we have ever seen. It's just more about, will they be able to reach it? Because if they do, this could be a very, very hard match for Misfire, especially since Tamoose's deck, Sky Bandits, is not used by anybody and has never been used by anybody, and Misfire will have a very hard time predicting what that deck is going to do and how it's going to function. For Misfire, obviously that guy changes decks every single week, but because he is now nicknamed the Divine Commander, I feel like he would have to be trying to make Beowulf relevant again with an Angel Beowulf kind of deck.
I don't know. So Misfire recently in the Discord said, I'm going to play a deck and stick with it no matter how garbage it is. And that gives me some odd feelings about this match. But you said Sky Bandits.
Sky Soldier Bandits.
So if you... That's a really interesting card. Does Sky Warfare... Can Sky Warfare only be applied to Sky Soldiers, or can it be applied to any card?
So it can be put on any card, but when it perishes, it's for each Sky Soldier in your perish pile.
Okay, so here's how I think the deck's going to work. I think that you first chuck a bunch of Sky Soldiers into the discard, and then you set a Bandit lockdown. You put the Sky Warfare on one of your bandits. You hit your bandit into an enemy that's stronger than your bandit, and then you just go in for the kill. Is, I believe, how it's going to work.
That is a very fun OTK.
Yeah, that's a theory. Don't quote me on it. But I believe that is a possibility. It could easily be countered by the asset pile, but it really depends.
Yeah, it depends on how early they get out. But do you think Misfire takes this? Or, because, I mean, it is... Tamoose has never really ever lost using this deck. The only times they've ever lost was with an opponent where they were beating them so badly they let them survive 2 turns, and that opponent then got health back and won via health. So a bit unfortunate for Tamoose.
That sounds like a rookie mistake.
It is a little bit of a rookie mistake, but
I don't know too much about Tamoose. I haven't actually seen any of their matches, so I don't know how well they play. If it's just pure experience, I think Misfire has it. But this is like, that's a wild card archetype choice, and then Misfire is just a wild card, so it's to be seen.
Alright, interesting. Alright, now we've got obviously the main event. We've got Sparrow, obviously someone you've had a couple matches with in the practice room. Charging Badger, obviously your round 2 matchup. Quite an interesting trial by fire for Sparrow as they attempt to really solidify themselves as a top 5 player. Sparrow obviously will be predicted to stick with maybe the bandits that they've kind of been assembling. And of course Badger with Sky Soldiers. We talked about Sky Bandits. Now those archetypes are actually going to be playing each other. How do you see this going down?
Here's the thing with Sky Soldiers, though. When they could just, like... The issue with Sparrow's deck is he doesn't have enough ways to defend his main guy. So as long as you could get Sky Warfare on the field, Charging Badger's kind of set. Because if the Apex is there and you just place down a Sky Warfare, Sparrow cannot defend themselves from a Sky Warfare to save their life. And, yeah. So anything that pops the Apex would kind of just doom Sparrow. If they go that route.
Okay, so you're thinking Badger takes this, or is it more of a... Do you think Sparrow can pull it out?
I think Charging Badger has favor, but not guaranteed.
Alright, interesting. So would you pick Badger in this matchup, or are you looking for the underdog?
Yeah, I would be picking Charging Badger.
Alright, fair enough.
Mainly because I don't want to fight Sparrow in an actual match.
They're definitely going through the gauntlet right now, obviously former champion after former champion. But if they do win, they will be firmly in that top 3 and pretty close to a contender match at that. So you might be seeing them a lot sooner than you thought.
Yeah, I don't want to see him. He could wait 5 more weeks. I think that's a fair amount of time.
Jeez. Well, it's definitely going to be a great match when it happens. But anyway, thank you for coming on and giving your thoughts. It was great to have you here and great to see your rise to the top.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, well, is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Play MonTac. It's a fun game.
All right, fantastic. You heard it here first. It's fun. I'm not just pretending. It actually is. And thank you for coming on. Look, wish you good luck in your future matches, and hope a good one.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a good one. Leave a like, subscribe, whole YouTuber thing. Go for it. See ya.